Hey everybody, it's Rockula and welcome back to Rockula Retrospective. It's day 22 of my Vita series, 30 Bands in 30 Days. Vita stands for Vlog Every Day in April, and today's band is Rush. This list concentrates on the more obscure bands in my collection because there are plenty of reviews on the major bands that I like. However, you cannot talk about my musical development without including Rush. My introduction to Rush didn't come from TV or the radio or my friends. My exposure to Rush came through my bedroom wall. My older sister Sherry gets the credit for turning me on to all the cool music I liked when I was younger. She wasn't a girly girl, she was more of a tomboy and she used to beat my ass. She liked the Cars and Cheap Trick, Led Zeppelin and Rush. She went to the Texas Jam and a bunch of other badass concerts, including Rush. I would have found out about Rush eventually, but I got an early start thanks to my sister. I had been trying out different instruments and found myself identifying most with the drums. Up until then, I was a big Kiss fan, and Peter Criss was my main drum influence. He did have a huge drum set, but I was looking for something a little more sophisticated. The stars aligned. I was at a critical point in my musical development where I wanted to become a better technician. It was also the perfect time to become a Rush fan because they had recently released Moving Pictures in 1981. 1981 is also the year that I got my first drum set. My purpose in life was set, and it would continue to be the central focus of my entire existence. I had actually owned an electric bass and guitar before I owned a drum set. I plunked around on them, but didn't connect. There were too many wrong notes to avoid, and I didn't understand scales or chords. I mainly played Rockstar in my bedroom or did feedback experiments. But the moment I sat down at a real drum set, I could play the drums. When I heard Rush, I understood what the drummer was doing. Not in that I could sit down and play the exact parts, but more that it was a new language that I knew on an instinctual level. Peter Criss was Rock Basics 101, and he taught me all the basics about drumming. How to play a steady beat, how to regulate the mood with intensity and dynamics, how to compose a fill to make it plain to the listener what's coming up next. Neil Peart was the advanced class for the kids that seemed ready to skip over pre-algebra and get right into the intermediate levels. Christmas 1981 was also the year that I got Exit Stage Left. I have used the term starter kit in many of my reviews, but nothing comes as close to catching the essence of a band like Exit Stage Left did with Rush. There's always been a part of me that can't resist a challenge. I started off with a tiny drum set, one tom, a bass drum, a snare, and a cymbal. I dreamed about owning a giant set of drums, but I had this tiny drum set that was even less than a basic 4-piece. This caused me to experiment with my drums. I learned how to get multiple textures out of one crappy sheet metal cymbal. Neil Peart had every size tom and I only had one. So I tuned the head higher at the top than at the bottom and played the fills on different parts of the head as I took my imaginary trip around the toms. I even started to sing along as I played the drums. The great part about my early drumming is that there was no one around to tell me, "You can't do that." It is really fun when you discover a band that had a good back catalog, and I proceeded to devour every single album that Rush had put out before Exit Stage Left. Then there was the day I found myself in a stereo store in North Park Mall. Looking back, it seems like Rush was locked into my destiny because of so many moments that fall into the category of the stars aligning. As soon as I walked into the stereo store, the man on the radio announced that he was going to play the new Rush album Signals all the way through after the commercial break. I have no idea how I thought about it so quickly, but I told my family to go shopping without me and I would stay at the stereo store. I went and bought a 90-minute Maxell XL2 tape, popped it into a jam box off in the corner, and secretly recorded the album without the people at the store knowing it. I bought the Signals album, and a lot of Rush purists were turned off by the keyboards, but I wasn't. My earlier interest with Gary Newman had prepped me for more keyboards, and the opening song Subdivisions really struck a nerve. Here's this band that I put up on the rock god pedestal, and here they are telling me that they go through the exact things I went through. They don't even know me, and yet they were speaking directly to me. This album is also a tad bit more restrained in the drum department, and I remember being able to play the drums a lot easier to this album. Then my sister took me to my second rock concert, which was Rush on the Signals tour at Reunion Arena. I would go to see them every time they came through Dallas and eventually started to go by myself. I would buy the cheapest ticket and then go hang out in the upper balcony. I had brought binoculars and would watch most of the show looking directly over Neil Peart's left shoulder and dissecting everything he did. I stayed with them up until Hold Your Fire, but lost interest when Roll the Bones came out. I could tell you about how the members of Rush are so well respected, but you already know about that even if you don't know anything about their music. It goes without saying that their music had an influence on me. It also goes without saying that I used a lot of Neil Peart's techniques as I developed as a drummer. But the most relevant influence on my current situation is the example they set in the multitasking department. All three of them had roles that extended past their main instrument, and it showed me that you don't need to be a huge band in order to have a huge sound. They taught me how to multitask, and it shows in my current work. What does Rush mean to you? Please share your thoughts and opinions on Rush in the comments below. Thanks for watching my Vita series 30 Bands in 30 Days. Tomorrow is day 23 and another pivotal band in my development, 16 Deluxe. I'm Rockula, and this is Rockula Retrospective.